Chapter 10. Guru's Qualifications. As the main interest in this book is religious development, we shall take up only the highest of gurus, those who attend mainly to spiritual welfare. The description of a qualified guru is given in Manu, in the Bhagavata Purana, in Tantra works, and the Guru Gita, as well as the Dasbodh. The Guru's glories are sung in many ancient texts. The central fact of Guru worship is that the Guru is approached by an earnest person for achieving his highest spiritual welfare. Hence, the best Guru can only be one who knows what the highest welfare of humanity is, who has himself achieved it and is both able and willing to train and carry others to that state. The good and the excellent are the words commonly used to denote the highest achievement in spiritual welfare. The other aim contrasted it is the pleasant. The contrast between the two has been brought out from the earliest times, such as in the Katha Upanishad, where it states, "Both the excellent and the pleasing confront man. The wise one observes, compares, and chooses. It is well with him who chooses the excellent. He who chooses the pleasing loses even pleasure." The same is also the choice of Hercules in ancient Greek tradition. Man has in him both the brute level based on his animal urges of hunger and sex, and the higher or divine level and capacity of raising himself above the brute level. Ordinarily, men pursue their lower aims connected with the maintenance of the body and its neglect the hard task of controlling the brute instincts and achieving the divine nature, which can alone carry man to the Godhead. A realization of the identity of the jiva, or individual, with the Param Atman, or universal self. The Guru must be, from a Vedantic standpoint, a realizer of Atman, and that comes to much the same thing as God realizer of the Bhakti Marga. The Viveka Chudamani and other works say that the Guru must be a perfect Atma-nishta, or Brahma-nishta, and that the Bhakti works like the Srimad Bhagavata that says, "The disciple must go to a Parama Bhagavata who is thoroughly familiar with and steeped in love of God, and who treats God as his own self." Bhagavata stresses the effort to reach the personal God as the Vedantic works stress the reaching of the impersonal God, or Absolute. Both are necessarily intertwined. Of the personal merges in and emerges from the impersonal. Both the Bhagavata and the Guru Gita say that the Guru must be a supreme realizer of the impersonal Absolute and personal God. The Guru Gita asks how a teacher who himself does not know the Absolute, or Brahman, is to teach it to others, and how a stone which itself cannot float across the ocean can be expected to carry other stones to the other side of the ocean. Instances of ignorant gurus posing as teachers of Brahman are not rare, and persons deficient even in moral qualities posing as teachers of Bhakti have played havoc with credulous disciples. Realization of the Absolute, or Brahman, is one of the rarest accomplishments, and it is by no means easy for a disciple going to a reputed teacher for the purpose of acquiring realization of the Absolute Brahman to see whether that teacher has that realization. There are no standards or recognized insignia or marks of God realization or self-realization, and several of the external characteristics usually attending Yanis and Bhagavatas are easily put on, professed, or assumed by others. And this great perplexity, most seekers after gurus have to trust to the repute which the alleged Jnani or Bhagavata has in society and trust intuition, purva vasana, and good luck. Guru Gita says, observe and choose your guru. But the chances of observing and testing, which a student has, or the seeker has, are hardly sufficient to enable him to arrive at a correct conclusion. Persons who achieve some spiritual powers by this instruction of petty gods are taken to be perfect gurus. Anyhow, the sadhak has to get on, and if he has made a bad choice, he is compelled to retrace his steps and give up a bad or false guru and change for a better one. As it states in the Guru Gita that warns disciples from falling into the clutches of false gurus, it says, a hypocrite who really is without God realization and who pretends to have such realization should be abandoned. By external appearance, they mislead people into the belief that they are true realizers. And the Guru Gita says the following about false gurus. Those who reject the Vedas, they revel in sin, they're atheistic or agnostic. And those who are under the tendency to oppose one God to another and distinguish Guru from God and stress differences instead of stressing the unity of existence. As well as those who are under the influence of lust, that are sinful or wicked or ungrateful. And also those who, like the crane, put on the appearance of samadhi or wisdom or realization as professing to concentrate on Brahman, and yet all the while concentrating on worldly aims and objects. The crane, while waiting on the bank to catch fish, wears a solemn look, as though it cared for nothing. Also, those who have fallen from their duties, and those who are without patience or forgiveness, and those that have fallacious modes of reasoning, and men that are strong desires for women, or with an ungovernable temperament, cruel men that are rogues, that have not really realized true wisdom. These type of gurus have to be avoided. The reason for avoiding such is that spiritual aspirants do not always succeed in avoiding them. One Kavli Patel, who was a subordinate of B.V. Dev of Thana, had such a guru who told that Patel that he must install a brand new image of the goddess of Vani in place of the old image of Vani that he had in the family temple, evidently with the hope of making a great profit out of the new installation and the ceremonies. The Patel had some doubts and so approached Sai Baba to get his decision in the matter. And Baba, as a Samartha Parama Guru, without any desire for gain, definitely stated that the new image should not be brought and only the old should be installed. When asked about the harm of introducing the new, Baba mentioned that by contravention of a similar advice given by him about the purchase and introduction of a cow, an epidemic was the terrible consequence. The Patel, who still believed in his own guru, brushed aside Baba's advice and brought in the image. And lo, an epidemic came into the village, and Patel's wife was one of the first to be attacked. When the Patel appealed to his guru for aid, his guru demanded a gift from Patel of half his landed property. The Patel then woke up and discovered that his guru was an ignorant man, avaricious, and a hypocrite, and gave up his guru and followed Baba's advice of reinstalling the old image. Where the Guru, however, is not a person who is sinful or wicked, Baba was conservative and directed people not to shatter their loyalties. His advice was that people should stick to their own gurus, however little their merit might be, and not change over to another guru who may have more merit. The guru-disciple relationship is more personal than the marital. The process of the Brahmanishta Guru, one with supreme realization of Atman, enabling a proper disciple to get that realization, is compared in the Guru Gita to getting another's lamp kindled in the flame of one's lamp. It is the same heat and light which proceed from one to the other, and thus there is continuity in the Guru. The final result also is said to be light within light. The realization of Atmanishta or Brahmanishta is very well set out in the Viveka Chudamani and other works, and the requisites therefore are discrimination, Viveka, dispassion or non-attachment, Vairagya, and Shakta and Mumukshutva. And these are dealt with. Vairagya or detachment is the state when attachment to worldly things disappears. Love of God and love of Guru are based on the decreased pull on the heart from wife and child and wealth. So the sadhak or spiritual aspirant has to march on to strengthen his dispassion and discrimination based thereon in his jnana marga, and strengthen his love of the Guru also. These discrimination and dispassion and love of Guru form a virtuous circle, so to speak, mutually assisting each other. The development of the Samadhi Shakta also falls into the same course. In the Bhakti Marga also, the increased love of God helps one to overcome the attraction of sense objects, and that in turn strengthens one's bhakti or prema to God and Guru. The best antidote to worldliness or sense attraction is declared in the Hamsa Gita to be worship of God with bhakti. Bhakti gradually grows in power and intensity, and finally leads to a merger, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, "A person contacts me and recognizes me by his devotion, which is a dynamic process, and learns more and more what sort of personality and what I am in reality. Thereafter, by proceeding higher and higher onto the highest reality, he fully realizes me and then merges in me." The qualifications of true gurus may be partly inferred from the above statement of who the false gurus are, but the positive marks of a true guru are set out in various works like the Upanishads or the Guru Gita or the Bhagavata Purana. We will take the Guru Gita first and note the following mentioned. He must be a Tattva-nishta, an Adhya-atma-jnani. You have Viveka, and so on. From these qualifications, namely the Tattva-nishta which comes along, it is patent that the Guru must have perfect nishta, that is, must have steady and continuous realization of Brahma Atman, absolute consciousness as oneself, which is the real significance of the Mahavakyas. Unless a man has reached that realization, he will not enable the disciple who approaches him to reach it. Mere bookish understanding would only lead to doubts of various sorts, as the matter is extremely subtle. As the Guru has to impart jnana or enable the disciple to realize it, it is not sufficient that the Guru should have got into the supreme state of Brahma Nishta. He must also understand the theoretical basis which is found in the Mahavakyas and in the Upanishads for the same. He must have discrimination, that is, be able to distinguish between the real or Brahman and the phenomenal or unreal universe. There are persons who know a fact or realized a state, and yet do not and cannot impart it to others. The omission or inability to impart may be due in part to unpreparedness and in part to incapacity. It is not all who can express what they feel. The Guru Gita draws a distinction between two sets of Parama Gurus, the Muni or silent one and the Vagmi. The Muni enjoys the bliss of perfection, but does not impart it to or help others to get it. But the Vagmi expresses his thoughts and realization as far as possible, and uses language and other means to enable the disciple to acquire that realization. So the Vagmi is the one primarily to be preferred by the disciple at the initial stage, though finally often a silent sage may suit his purpose. Brahmanishta is not a mere question of intellect or working up the mind and other phases or facets of the self. It is a unique experience, and it comes from the grace of the Guru, God, and can come only in that way. Mere prayer to Shiva and Vishnu will not suffice for knowing God. To know God, or even the personal God properly, the Guru must help the disciple. Namdev's case is the best illustration of this truth. That is why prominent mention in the list of qualifications is made of these Tattva-nishta and Adya Atmayani. This will suffice for the present, and later references amplifying the subject may be found in other portions of this book. The fourth qualification, sadhu, is a very wide term, but as it is fairly understood, it need not be discussed. Nirmalamanas refer to the purity of the heart of the Guru, and others denote much of the same, for in addition to external purity, internal purity also is implied, and the qualifications are also practically involved. Unless a person has conquered his lust and other appetites and his temper, he can never be a proper guru. Any disciple who approaches him is apt to absorb his lack of control. Those who have not conquered their senses, the indriyas, their lust, their anger, and such, are generally given to sins and vices, and therefore will not only lose mental peace, but would also be doing much harm to the very name of religion, and ruining their disciples and others approaching them. The Upanishads and also the Guru Gita point out that the necessity for a person to avoid gurus who are tainted with these faults. It states that a person who has not given up bad and evil courses, the man who has not reached calmness and quiet, and who has not gained peace of mind, can never realize Brahman, that is, to get Brahmanishta. Among the disqualifications mentioned, lack of these has been noticed. Peace, paucity of speech. In a guru are patent external marks of the calm peace and quiet that reign in his heart. The Guru Gita points out that at the very sight of a Parama Guru, one's heart is filled with calm,